The night Charlotte called me the maid, I was standing in my mother's kitchen with a family pack of chicken thighs, sweating through the plastic on my forearm. I'm Ruby Gomez. I'm 29. I do medical billing for an orthopedic practice on the north side of San Antonio. Numbers calm me down. I moved back into my dad's house 8 months ago, the week after we buried my mom, and I turned the chaos into line items. My dad is Harvey, 60, good-hearted, and allergic to conflict. Charlotte Mills is his 54-year-old girlfriend who moved in 2 weeks ago with a trunk full of candles and a lot of opinions. My best friend, Stella Reyes, 30, lives 10 minutes away and keeps an extra blanket on her couch for me like it's policy. The kitchen still smelled faintly like my mom's vanilla, even though Charlotte had swapped the soap for something called sea salt and driftwood. I had my routine. I used coupons, I tracked copays, I paid the $86 internet, the $49 to Andy Ross for mowing, the $60 trash bill when it slid past due, and I covered groceries when Dad's debit card balked at the register. I set reminders so he'd remember his blood pressure pills. I didn't make a big deal of it. Paperwork is how I love people. Finally, Charlotte said, flicking a lighter at a pillar candle like a hostess on a TV show. She leaned against the island and smiled at my dad. Our maid is here. It wasn't a joke, not the way she said it, flat and satisfied, looking right at me and then past me. My dad stood behind her, hands shoved into the pockets of his jeans. He looked down at the grout line between tiles, like it had something to tell him. I slid the chicken into the fridge and shut the door. The rubber seal stuck for a second, a quiet little whoosh. I took a breath that did not shake. I'm not your maid, I said, calm, to no one in particular. Charlotte's smile widened in a way that read as amusement and victory. Relax, she said. You know I mean it affectionately. You like to help. What I like is control over the mess in bills, the mess in grief. I'd been doing that since March when I put the house accounts on Autopay, so my dad didn't have to watch due dates like a hawk. The internet got paid on the 15th. Andy's lawn invoice hit on the 1st. Trash was the wild card. Groceries, I never set a rule for. Those I handled by feel. My dad cleared his throat. Kiddo, he said, eyes still on the floor, like the word might stand in for a spine. Charlotte wasn't done. And since you're here, she added, her tone brightening for the benefit of the open blinds and whoever might be walking by, could you wipe down the patio table? The neighbors see everything. My hands moved before my head did. I pulled my duffel from the pantry where I'd tucked it weeks ago among paper towels and a bulk pack of napkins. Jeans, scrub bottoms, 2 t-shirts, toiletries. I didn't slam drawers. I didn't say anything about how my mother labeled the spices and how the labels were now peeling up at the corners. I looked at the calendar I'd printed and taped to the side of the fridge, his pills marked with little dots, and I peeled it off in one slow motion. Charlotte watched me with her arms crossed. Are you seriously being dramatic over a word? She asked. I set my spare key on the counter next to the fruit bowl. I made sure it wasn't under anything. The metal glinted under the pendant light. I wanted her to see it. I wanted my dad to see it too. Ruby, he said, like a question and a plea. I've got a shift early, I said. It wasn't a lie. I could always pick up hours. My voice was even. I'll text you if any labs come in that need signatures. We can talk about this, he said, but his voice trailed off. That's what he does. He waits for storms to die out on their own. Charlotte rolled her eyes. Good grief, she muttered. You're making a scene. This is exactly why the house needs order. I zipped the duffel and slung it over my shoulder. I took the pack of chicken back out because I had paid for it and because the idea of her cooking it on my mother's pans made something inside me go cold. I tucked the meat under my arm, picked up my phone, and walked to the door. On the way out, I texted Stella, "Couch free?" "Always," she shot back before I even got to my car. The early fall air felt like a relief. A sprinkler hissed somewhere down the block, hitting concrete in a rhythmic slap. The HOA had rules about watering days. I knew them better than most because I'd read the packet when it landed in our mailbox and added the fines to my mental list of things Dad didn't need to think about. I loaded the duffel into my trunk, set the chicken on the passenger seat, and sat for a second with the engine off. Inside the house, Charlotte's voice carried, sharp, then muffled, then my dad's lower rumble, indecipherable. I let it fade. I turned the key and pulled away. As I reached the stop sign at the end of our street, my phone buzzed. It was my dad. I didn't pick up. I looked at the spare key, bright in my mind where I'd left it on the counter, and kept driving. In the car, I balanced the chicken on the passenger seat, opened the internet provider's app, and took my card off Autopay. Manage payments. Edit, remove. It asked me twice if I was sure. I was. The account was in my name. The bill was due this weekend. No card, no payment. I did the same for the lawn guy. Andy Ross, $49 on the first, sat in my email with a standing invoice link. I clicked update payment, deleted my card, and typed a quick note. "Hi, Andy. Please contact Harvey for future billing. I'm stepping back." I added my dad's phone number because Andy had always texted me. Trash was messier. The city's portal still had my visa saved. I cleared it and changed the email on file to my dad's. If they mailed a paper notice, it would land in his hands instead of mine. Then I opened Google Calendar. I had a shared pills calendar with reminders at breakfast and bedtime. I toggled off sharing. The little blue heads next to my dad's email disappeared. I archived the printed version I'd peeled off his fridge by sliding it into the side pocket of my duffel. I wasn't going to be in that house straightening magnets and notes anymore. I typed a message to my dad and read it twice before hitting send. Return the key. I won't be entering the house. If you need official forms signed, call me and I'll handle them. For anything I pay, I'll need reimbursement upfront first. I'll help set things in your name if you want. I didn't send one to Charlotte. Stella's place is 10 minutes from my dad's if you hit the lights right. She buzzed me in on the first ring, opened the door in socks, and took the chicken without comment. She slid it into her fridge, then started the kettle like this was our practice drill. "Coffee at night?" I asked, dropping my duffel next to her couch. "Defensive strategy," she said. "You look like you left a battlefield." I sank onto the pullout and kicked off my shoes. She called me the maid. Stella's eyebrows lifted, but she didn't say I told you so. She handed me a mug and a throw blanket. "Phone down," she said. I turned it face down on the claw mark on her coffee table. It buzzed. Once, then again, and I didn't flip it. I could feel the shape of my dad's name behind the glass. I let it be. "Work?" she asked. I pulled my laptop out and logged into the clinic scheduling app. I'd cut my hours back after Mom died, so I could drive Dad to appointments and meet delivery windows. There were open morning slots next week and a full-day Friday. I clicked to claim them and emailed Leah, my manager, to ask for full-time through the end of the month. "Family situation changed," I wrote, "available to cover." She responded 5 minutes later with a thumbs up and a "We've got you." Stella brought over a half carton of takeout lo mein and 2 forks. "Eat," she said, "then tell me what you need." I took my card off everything, I said between bites. Internet, lawn, trash. I told Andy to call my dad. "I told my dad I'm not going back in the house." "Good," she said. She wasn't one for speeches. She put her feet under her on the chair and watched me in that steady way she has when she's not going to rescue me from my own decisions. My phone buzzed again. I glanced. A text from Dad. Not long, just my name, the question mark. Then nothing, no paragraphs. That made it worse and better at the same time. You can crash here as long as you need, Stella said. But I'm waking you up at 7 because I have a run, and you're drinking water before bed. I have the chicken, I said. We can cook it tomorrow. We'll make tacos, she said. We'll make a list. I rinsed my mug and set it in her sink. In her living room, the pullout creaked like a memory. I stretched out and tucked the blanket under my feet. Through the wall, someone's TV murmured. The building always came alive on Sundays when the games were on. You could hear cheers and groans through the hallway. I turned my phone to Do Not Disturb. I set one alarm for morning and put it face down again. I could picture the internet app screen in my mind. No payment method saved. I could picture my dad standing in the kitchen, seeing the key on the counter, seeing the empty corner where the calendar had been. Stella clicked off the lamp. You did the right thing, she said in the dark. Now let the silence do something. Outside, a car door thumped. My phone buzzed one last time and stopped. I stared at the ceiling until the street noise turned into a soft wash. Sunday's game was in 2 days. Kickoff hit like a switch in the building. Doors opened, voices rose. Someone down the hall whooped at a pregame segment. I cracked Stella's window for the breeze and the sound because it was easier to listen to other people's noise than my own head. My phone lit up face down, buzzing against the wooden table. Then again, then a steady jitter. I flipped it over. First a text from my dad at 12:58. Internet out? Before I could lock the screen, another came in from an unknown number that resolved to Charlotte's contact. Why is the Wi-Fi not working? Then, TV black. Then my dad again. Ruby? I didn't answer. I slid the phone to the edge and watched the notifications stack in the preview bar. 12 missed calls climbed to 13. I turned on Do Not Disturb and set it back down. Stella set a bowl of chips next to me and a jar of salsa that said mild in friendly letters. She watched my face and didn't ask for the play-by-play. It's Sunday, I said. He has people over. She nodded. And the internet you paid for is not. I opened the provider's app just to look. The account screen loaded with a yellow banner. Payment required to resume service. Autopay attempt failed. The due date was today. The cycle always landed mid-month. There was no card on file. A button offered add payment method. I closed it. The text kept coming in, collected like missed landings. Charlotte started a group thread with my dad and me that I had never asked to be in. So ungrateful, she wrote. Our maid took her toys. My face went hot, then cold. I put the phone down like it was something that might burn the table and got up to open the window a little more. Somewhere a commentator stretched a name out into a long vowel. Laughter rose and fell. Eat, Stella said, pushing the chips toward me. Use your jaw on something else. I took one, then another. The salt grounded me. In the kitchen, the pan from last night's tacos dried in the rack, a smear of orange grease catching the light. We'd cooked the chicken with cumin and limes and gone to bed smelling like a family that had just fed itself. The phone buzzed once. Voicemail. I didn't hit the little red dot. I let it sit for a minute and then listened. Ruby, my dad said, voice low, the word like he had to work to pull it up. Can you just fix it? 3 seconds. Click. I stared at the wall while the window screen hummed with wind. Fix it used to mean me getting on a chat with the provider, authorizing a payment, restarting the modem, carrying the mental load. Fix it had turned into a reflex for both of us. I wiped my palms on my jeans and didn't call back. Instead, I sent one text to my dad, not to the group thread. I kept it short. I can help you put it in your name tomorrow, or you can call them now and add your card. I won't re-add mine. The bubble stayed gray. No dots. In the group thread, Charlotte fired off another. This is childish. People are here. I set the phone face down again. Stella handed me a glass of water. You don't have to justify, she said. He can read the bill. He can call. You told him. I nodded. My hands were steady. That was new. Around 2, the building went quiet. That lull between the first drive and the second quarter when everybody eats. I did laundry in Stella's hall machine, 2 quarters short, so I Venmo'd her roommate for change, and folded on the couch. I put my mom's calendar printout in the bottom of my duffel with my scrubs and the t-shirt from the clinic 5K. I didn't have to look at the little dots for pills. That job was not mine, if the price was being called staff in the house where I grew up. By late afternoon, Do Not Disturb had a little stack of numbers in the corner. 12 missed calls, then 13. Then it stopped. The building roared once, then fell into polite groans, and then music swelled through the plaster when the game ended, and commercials came louder than people wanted to talk. At 5, I took a short walk around the block to let the air unstick from my skin. The curbs were neat except for our old street, where I knew the dandelions had started pushing up along the sidewalk because Andy hadn't been by in a week. I had Andy's number saved under A, so I would see it first. I'd already told him to bill Harvey. That was done. Back upstairs, I heated taco leftovers and ate at the counter while Stella scrolled for dessert recipes she wasn't going to make. My phone hummed again. Not a call this time, but a picture from my dad. The modem lights, all amber, with the caption just question marks. I didn't answer. Another moment, then silence. When night dropped, I turned the phone off entirely. The quiet didn't feel empty. It felt like air after a storm, charged and clean. I set my alarm for work in the morning and laid out scrubs, badge, and flats in a neat little row. On Monday, before lunch, a bright envelope from the HOA would hit my dad's mailbox with a photo of yellowheads in our yard and a $75 fine printed in black. Silence had started its work. The rest was going to be bills and names on accounts and who signed what. Monday at lunch, between claims, my dad texted me a photo of a neon envelope on the kitchen counter. The HOA logo sat in the corner like a stamp. Open this. What is it? I zoomed the next photo until the words blurred. Notice of violation. A date. A snapshot of our front yard with bright yellow heads along the sidewalk. $75 fine assessed. Remedy within 5 days. Contact Christian Hunt, property manager. Call Andy to mow or borrow a mower today, I wrote back. The HOA wants it done this week. They'll add fines if it sits. I can send you Andy's number. He replied with a thumbs up emoji, then nothing. I sent Andy's contact anyway. Andy texted me a minute later. Got your note. I'll reach out to Harvey. I told him thanks and turned back to my screen where a patient named McAllister had 2 duplicate charges. After work, Stella had a pasta bake in the oven and a stack of cheap manila folders on the table. Pick a color, she said, like this was school supplies and not my life. I slid bank statements out of my laptop and printed a list. Internet, 86 month, lawn 49 month, trash can $60 when past due, co-pays varied, groceries overflow mixed in. I opened my banking app and scrolled 6 months back to March, when we put Mom's photo on the mantle and I started laying rails under the house. It felt clinical. Dates, amounts, confirmation numbers. I wrote totals in neat pen at the top of a page and tucked receipts I had into a folder. Tuesday was quiet. I worked a full day, took a late lunch to help a walk-in with a referral, and didn't check my phone except to confirm that my manager had me on for Friday. In the evening, I called my grandpa to ask about a recipe for arroz he used to make, and didn't mention Charlotte, didn't mention the envelope. Wednesday at 6:30 a.m., my dad called. I let it go to voicemail, then listened while I pulled on scrubs. Ruby. They didn't pick up the trash. I could hear the indignation, like the truck had made a mistake and he was about to flag it back. I called him back. Did you get an email from the city? There was a past due balance. I don't... He stopped. Paper rustled. There's something about $60 here from last month. Were you... I was paying it when it slipped, I said. Trash is every quarter. If it goes past due, they skip a pickup. Silence. Then, softer, I didn't know you were paying all that. That was the point, I said, keeping my voice even, so you didn't have to think about it while you were dealing with everything else. I didn't add that everything else now included a woman who called me the maid. He cleared his throat. Can you just re-add your card? Just this month. I'll pay you back. No, I said. One word, steady. If you want help, we can meet somewhere public. You Zelle me first and we put everything, internet, lawn, trash, in your name. I'm not putting my card back on your house. He let out a breath like air from a tire. Okay. The game was a mess. Charlotte invited the guys and then the envelope. And now there's trash. Call the city, I said. They'll take a card over the phone. The number's on the notice. For the lawn, either mow today or have Andy come out. The HOA manager is Christian Hunt, if he calls you back. They'll give you a deadline. I got an email from a Christian, he said, with a picture of the, what do you call them? Dandelions. Says Friday at 5 or another fine. That's him, I said. It's fixable. Just, you fix it. He made a small sound that could have been a yes. Then he said, too quick, Charlotte says you're making a point. She says this is about attention. My phone vibrated with a new notification even as he said her name. A voice message from Charlotte. I didn't press play. I'm not entering the house, I said. If you need official forms, text me. If you want me to set up accounts, we'll do it with your card, your name, in public. That's it. Right. He sounded tired. I'll call the city. We hung up. I put my phone on the counter and let the voice message sit. Stella came out, hair wet, and raised an eyebrow. I handed her the phone. She hit play and stuck it on speaker. Charlotte's voice filled the small kitchen. Ruby, this is embarrassing. You're acting like a child for a pat on the head. You've always been a charity case. Your father took you in, and now you want applause for doing chores. Grow up. Stella's mouth flattened. She hit stop, then delete. Nope, she said. I nodded. Agreed. At noon, my dad texted a screenshot of a payment confirmation from the city. Paid $60. Service resumes next pickup. Then a photo of the front yard, half mowed, the other half like a haircut paused mid-snip. He wrote, Andy coming by at 3. I answered with a thumbs up. I was not going to coach. He had a phone. He had a wallet. He had a manager's name and a lawn guy's number. At 4, my phone buzzed again. I expected another demand. Instead, it was a simple line from my dad. I'm sorry. Can we meet? I need to get this right. Thursday after lunch, I printed a lab requisition for my dad from the clinic portal and slid it into a blank envelope. He needed it to get blood drawn for his primary next week. I texted him before I left work. I can drop the lab order at 5. Porch only. I'm not coming inside. He typed back fast. Understood. Thank you. Traffic on 281 crawled like it always does at rush, slow enough that I could see the city fold into neighborhoods. I pulled onto our street and parked 2 houses down. The lawn out front was short, neat lines from Andy's mower, a white bag of clippings tied off near the side gate. The dandelions were gone. The mailbox flag was down. I carried the envelope up the walk. The front door opened before I got to the mat. Charlotte stood there with a wide smile that looked like a photograph, one hand on the knob, the other smoothing the front of her blouse. "Oh, Ruby," she said in a tone meant for anyone within earshot. "Come in. We were just making coffee." "Porch drop-off," I said, holding the envelope up. "For Dad. That's all." Her smile thinned. She stepped back and tilted her head like an invitation. "Don't be silly. You live here." "I don't," I said. I set the envelope on the small table by the door with the ceramic bowl that used to hold my mom's keys. I pointed at it. "Lab order. He needs to bring it with his ID. Neighbors will think you're mad at us," she sang, eyes flicking to the street. "I'm not interested in neighbors," I said. Her hand twitched toward my arm, not quite touching. The smile slipped all the way off. She leaned in, so the word wouldn't carry. "Maid," she hissed, like she'd been holding it. I looked at her, then at the envelope, then at the topiary she'd bought and set by the step. "Porch," I said, more to myself than to her, and took a step back. My dad's voice came from the hall. "Ruby?" He moved into the doorway behind her. He looked tired and more alert than I'd seen him in months. His eyes flicked to my hands, to the table, to my face. "I've got it," he said, reaching past her for the envelope. He didn't ask me in. That counted for something. "I'll text you," I said to him, and turned. Charlotte said something under her breath that I didn't catch, and then louder, brighter, "Thanks, honey," for the benefit of the cul-de-sac. I walked to my car and felt the hinge of the moment, the clean line of a boundary holding. I put the engine in gear and drove straight to Stella's. She had her dining table laid out like a project, manila folder, highlighter, my printouts from earlier in the week, and a small calculator with a missing 7 key, which still worked if you pressed it hard enough. "You did it?" she asked as I dropped my keys. "Porch," I said. He took the envelope. "Lawn's cut. Trash is paid. HOA will chill if the yard stays neat." "Good," she said. She slid the folder toward me. "Let's finish the totals." I sat and pulled up my bank on my laptop. We moved through month by month. Internet 86.6. April through September, 6 charges. Lawn 49s, 6 charges. Trash, 2 late payments at $60 each. Copays, 3 times $20, 1 at $45. Groceries, there wasn't a clean category for a cart went over. So I added the times I transferred from my account after a debit declined and wrote grocery overflow with dates. Stella read the numbers out, and I wrote neat totals at the top of a single page, total covered, and below it, each line with a subtotal. I wasn't going to present it like a bill. I wanted the picture clear enough that there was no mystery about what I'd been carrying. My phone buzzed at 6. A text from my dad. "Tomorrow? Diner by the pharmacy?" I'll listen. The diner was our neutral ground. Bright lights, laminated menus, a waitress who called everyone sweetheart. I could picture the corner booth by the pie case. I typed back, "Tomorrow, 12:30. We'll do accounts in your name. Up front only." He wrote, "Okay." We kept working. I made a simple contact sheet for him. Internet, provider name, account number, customer service phone, lawn, Andy's number, trash, city utility line, HOA, Christian Hunt's email and the violation date, and fine. I printed it and slid it behind the receipts. "Are you going to put rules in writing?" Stella asked. "Terms," I said. The word surprised me coming out of my mouth. It felt right. Short. Plain. She pushed her laptop toward me. "Type them." I typed 4 lines. Upfront reimbursement before I pay anything. All accounts in your name, your card. No house entry for me unless invited and treated with basic respect. No triangulating with Charlotte. Talk to me directly. I added a 5th and then deleted it. No lectures, Just facts. Stella watched me save and hit print. The small printer on her bookshelf chugged and spit the page out. I read it once, then slipped it into the front of the folder. Looks like a plan, she said. It's not a plan, I said. It's the price. Same thing, she said, wiping a smudge off the cover. She wrote House, Harvey, on the tab with a marker and handed it back. I put the folder in my tote with my badge and the little calculator. I laid my clinic ID on top so I wouldn't forget it in the morning. My phone stayed quiet. I felt the absence of noise like a clear lane. The diner would be tomorrow. Terms were going on the table. I took an early lunch and drove to the diner by the pharmacy, the one with sticky booths and pie under glass. I texted Leah I might be 10 minutes over. She sent a thumbs up. I took the corner booth and set the manila folder on the vinyl, my clinic badge tucked into the front pocket so I wouldn't leave without it. My dad came in a few minutes later, squinting like the lights were bright. He sat, hands around the water glass, before the waitress even brought coffee. Thank you for meeting me, he said. His voice was hoarse. I'm sorry. For the other night. For all of it. I opened the folder. I didn't make a speech. I slid the top page to him. Internet, 86 month, APRSEP, 6 charges, dates and confirmation numbers printed. Lawn 49 month, 6 invoices paid. Trash, 2 past due payments, $60 each. Co-pays, 3 at $20, 1 at $45. Grocery overflow, 4 transfers when the cart went over, with dates. No totals in red, no dramatic underline. Just the facts. He stared at the page. I let him read. The waitress came and poured coffee. He thanked her and didn't look up. I didn't know it was this much, he said finally. I thought you were just helping with the internet. I kept it quiet so you didn't have to think about it, I said. But I can't do it and be called the maid in Mom's kitchen. He shut his eyes for a second. I'm sorry I stood there and let that happen. I nodded. I pulled out the 1-page contact sheet and slid it over. Here's everything. Provider names, account numbers, phone numbers, Andy's number, the city utilities line, Christian at the HOA. You can call and put every account in your name with your card. If you want my help, I will help. But we do it like this. I pulled the terms page from the pocket and placed it on top. 4 lines, plain. Upfront reimbursement before I pay anything. All accounts in your name with your card. I don't enter the house unless I'm invited and treated with basic respect. No triangulating with Charlotte. Talk to me directly. He read each line and put a big hand next to the paper like he was weighing it. Yes, he said. All of that. I can do that. Up front, I said. If I pick up a pharmacy refill, you Zelle me first. If I scan a form, you send a photo of your signature. I'm not chasing. He nodded again. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet, more habit than anything, then set it back down like he realized this wasn't a bill I was handing him. The bell over the door rang. I didn't look up until a shadow fell across the table and a perfume I recognized as sea salt and driftwood hit my nose. Charlotte slid into the booth next to my dad like she'd been invited. Well, she said, all brightness, isn't this cozy? You could have told me you were meeting. My dad didn't move. He hadn't told me she was coming. His mouth twitched like he was going to say something and then thought better of it. Charlotte reached across the table for the folder like it was part of the silverware. Let me see what narrative we're spinning. I put my hand on the folder and kept it there. This is between me and Dad. Don't be dramatic, she said, laughter in the word like she was above everything. You've been acting like a martyr for doing chores. You're making lists? I like lists, I said. They keep things clear. She rolled her eyes and reached again. I didn't pull. I just opened my phone instead and angled the screen so my dad could see. Banking app, Autopays, the internet provider entry labeled canceled with the date, the lawn invoice link with my note to Andy forwarding him to Harvey, the city utilities profile where I'd removed my card and updated the email to his. These are the dates I removed my card, I said. Last Saturday for internet, Monday for trash. The lawn autopay was canceled Saturday. Those are the services that stopped because my card wasn't there. Charlotte leaned back like the screen offended her. Why are you showing me your bank? I'm showing Dad, I said. He leaned in, jaw working. He looked at the dates, then at the list of charges over the past 6 months. His eyes were glossy in a way that had nothing to do with tears. It was focus. He took a breath and looked at Charlotte. No more of the Maid talk, he said. His voice wasn't loud. No more. She looked surprised, then amused, like he had told a small joke. We're really doing this here? Yes, he said. He slid the folder closer to himself, his hand covering the terms page like he was claiming it. He shifted in the booth and sat up straighter. We're going to fix it. She huffed and stared at me. You really think you can come in here and dictate terms? I already left the house, I said. These aren't demands. They're conditions for my help. The waitress came by with more coffee and looked at the three of us like she'd walked into a TV show. No one spoke until she moved on. My dad's jaw tightened. He pulled his wallet out again, on purpose this time, and set his card on the table in front of him like a marker. We'll use my card. Today. Sunday morning, my phone buzzed while I was pouring coffee in Stella's kitchen. Dad, can you flip it back on just for a few hours? Guy's coming at 2. No, I typed. I can help you set it up in your name with your card before noon, or you can call them yourself. I won't re-add mine. A minute. Then, come by. We'll set it up. I'll keep it civil. I put the manila folder in my tote and checked that the contact sheet was still clipped to the front. Stella handed me a banana and a look. Boundaries, she said. Terms, I said, and left. The lawn in front of the house was short, neat stripes. The HOA envelope was on the console inside, with a sticky note stuck to it in my dad's handwriting. Paid. A neighbor across the street hauled a cooler out of his garage and lifted a hand. I lifted mine back. My dad opened the door before I knocked. Thank you for coming, he said. He stepped back and let me in. We'll do the call at the table. Charlotte stood by the kitchen island with her mug like it was a prop. You can flip your little switch, can't you? She said. Just for the boys. It's not that deep. No, I said. We're setting up his account. His card. She rolled her eyes and let the word out like a reflex. Maid. I picked up my tote. Then I'm leaving. My dad moved, quick for him. He turned to Charlotte. No, he said, steady. We agreed. Knock it off. Apologize. She blinked like he'd spoken another language. You're going to make me apologize in my own home because your daughter's pouting? He didn't raise his voice. Apologize? Or leave? We have to do this. She stared at him, then at me, a slow smile that didn't reach anything. Childish, she said. She grabbed her purse, clattered the mug into the sink on purpose, and walked past us. The door shut behind her a little too loud. Silence settled like a blanket. My dad exhaled. I'm sorry, he said. We're doing the account now. We sat at the dining table. He placed his wallet between us like a token. I put my phone on speaker and dialed the provider. We listened to a recorded voice talk about faster speeds, then to flute-heavy hold music that made the seconds obvious. A rep named Jasmine picked up and asked for the service address. I gave it. There's an account here that's suspended for non-payment, she said. That one is under my name, I said. We need to close it and open a new account for Harvey. Same address. Copy, she said. We can do a new account. I'll need a phone number and email. My dad read off his cell and his Gmail. Jasmine repeated them back. Okay, she said. I can activate with your existing modem. Do you see a sticker on the back with a number that starts with MAC? I nodded at my dad. He went to the den, unplugged the modem, brought it over, and squinted at the label. I slid my reading glasses toward him without comment. He read the MAC address carefully. Jasmine typed, Got it. The plan is $86 plus taxes and fees. You can add Autopay. Card name and number? My dad set his card on the table and read the numbers into the air. Expiration, security code, zip. All set, Jasmine said. I'm pushing a refresh to your modem. When the lights go back to green, you should be good. Anything else? No, I said. That's it. Thank you. We waited. The modem blinked like a small, nervous animal. Amber to green, then back, then green steady. In the den, the TV's home screen reloaded. My dad clicked to the app he uses for the stream. The pre-game panel popped up. Men in suits talking too fast. He let out a breath he'd been holding for a week. Okay, he said. Okay. There was a tap at the door. A neighbor with a tray of wings stuck his head in. We good? He asked, looking past me at the screen. We're good, my dad said. He looked at me. Do you want to stay? I'm going to go, I said. I stood and put my tote over my shoulder. I'm glad you got it set up. He nodded. I'll send you the confirmation, he said. And I meant what I said. No more of the name calling. I heard you, I said. I believed him more seeing the card on the table than hearing the words. On my way out, I passed the topiary by the step and the small table with the ceramic bowl. I didn't look inside it. I pulled the door closed and walked to my car while the TV got louder inside and the house filled with other people's noise. Back at Stella's, I put my phone on the counter and let the quiet bounce around. I answered a patient email about a misapplied deductible because it was simple and made sense. When the game kicked off, the building cheered in a way that made me smile without trying. At halftime, my dad texted a photo, a single page printed in grayscale on his old inkjet. Internet service agreement, his name at the top, the address below, the monthly total, the Autopay line with the last four of his card. No commentary, just the picture. I wrote back, looks good. He sent a thumbs up, then nothing else. I put the phone down. Silence did what it does. The TV down the hall went from roar to chatter to roar again. I stretched my legs on the couch and let the picture of his name at the top take up the space where the old calendar used to live in my head. Monday morning, my dad texted a picture of the modem lights glowing green and, under it, a screenshot of a confirmation email from the internet provider. Autopay, active, name on account, his. Looks good, I wrote. He replied with a single check mark emoji, then a separate message a few minutes later. Can you call in a refill for my lisinopril? Pharmacy says no refills. I typed back, Zelle, $10, and I'll call. Porch pickup after. The money hit my phone 30 seconds later. I called the pharmacy with his date of birth and doctor's name, asked them to fax the renewal request. Then I called his clinic and gave the nurse the rundown in the calm, polite voice I use at work. By early afternoon, the pharmacy texted him that the refill was ready. I grabbed it on my way to Stella's and left the brown bag on his porch table with a sticky note, take at dinner. He opened the door and waved from inside like we were practicing good habits. We were. That week held like a new shape. Andy texted me a simple all set with Harvey. New card on file, the X. I didn't have to write back. My dad sent a photo of the city utilities receipt with a paid stamp and a note. Trash back on schedule Thursday. On Tuesday, he forwarded me an email chain with Christian from the HOA. My dad had sent a photo of the mowed yard and the paid fine. Christian answered, received. Property in compliance. Thank you. No extra fines. That thread stayed between them. I didn't reply because it wasn't mine to manage anymore. Wednesday, a group text buzzed to life with my dad's number and Charlotte's. The first message was from her. We need Ruby to handle the new streaming app. The one we have is awful. I left the chat and texted my dad separately. Please text me directly. He wrote back, understood. Thursday, he Zelled me $25 with the note, forms. I scanned and emailed him an insurance coordination form his primary needed. He printed it, signed, and sent me a photo to confirm. No fuss, no calls. He picked up his own pen. Stella kept her table set up like a command center. We didn't add anything new. We just kept the folder intact and put it on a bookshelf where I wouldn't trip over it. I slept better on her pullout that week than I had in months. By Friday, I'd toured a one-bedroom across the street from a park I liked. The place was upstairs, small, clean. A decent landlord with a simple application. I texted my dad before I signed. I won't be moving back. I'm getting my own place near work. He wrote back, good, proud of you. Saturday, Charlotte sent me a message that started, we're family, and ended with a line about forgiveness that sounded like a threat. I didn't answer. I didn't forward it. My dad texted later. I told her to speak to me about the house. Thank you for staying out of it. Sunday came with the same sounds it always does. Cheers down the hall at Stella's place, then quiet when the first quarter settles in. My dad's house stayed his. He sent a picture of wings on a tray and the game on in the background, a neighbor's elbow in the corner of the frame. Under it he typed, good here, have a nice day. The rhythm stuck. If he needed something, he asked. If I did it, he sent money first. If the tone slipped, I stopped. The first time he wrote, can you just... I waited. He corrected himself. Will you help me with the DMV registration online? Zelle sent. I helped. He texted me a screenshot of his name at the top when he was done. I didn't go back inside the house. Twice I did porch drop-offs, a lab order, and then a copy of his living will after he asked me where the folder was, and I told him where to look. He sent me a photo of it signed with a simple thank you. Charlotte kept her distance from me by necessity. She hovered on the edges of logistics without access to my number through any channel that worked. I heard about her in the shallow ways people hear about each other. She liked a neighbor's Facebook post about fall decor. She trimmed the topiary. She invited people for coffee and called the house ours a lot. What I didn't hear was the word she had thrown at me like a label. My dad didn't either. He stopped her when it came up in front of him once. I didn't hear it, but I saw the absence. She messaged me once more. I deleted it without opening, and the silence held the line for me. By the end of the week, I signed the lease on the one-bedroom. Stella loaded boxes into my trunk and handed me a plant that I immediately Googled how not to kill. I set up my own tiny kitchen with my own labels. I bought my own internet and put my own card on Autopay. It felt plain and huge. My dad drove over with a toolbox and tightened a loose cabinet hinge. He stood in the doorway with his hands on his hips and looked at the little rug I'd set by the sink. You good? He asked. I'm good, I said. He nodded. Me too. He held up his phone. I figured out alarms for my pills, morning and night. Good, I said. We didn't make it bigger than it was. On his side of town, the lawn stayed short. The trash got picked up on Thursdays. The internet bill came to his email, and when it didn't, he called the provider and waited on hold like everyone else. He sent me the occasional question and a thumbs up when he figured it out himself. Sometimes I helped, sometimes I didn't. The balance felt even. Silence did what years of pleading couldn't. It turned into respect spelled out in receipts and names on accounts. I walked past my spare key on Stella's bookshelf a week later and didn't take it. I didn't need it. I never heard the word maid again.